Welcome to the Hudson Show. Coming up, a new way to make the presidential election a little more fun. Also, an outdated disease that might be making a comeback. All that and more on the way next. It is the Hudson Show from RadioU. Researchers in Florida have found something that was previously believed to be impossible. That is a nearly 15-foot, 115-pound Burmese python chowing down on a 77-pound white-tailed deer. There is even video of this happening. Even the snake itself looks confused, looks like I made a mistake. You can see in its eyes, it's very unsure about what it's done, but it's a hungry snake, and you got to eat what you can get. If you're a Burmese python in Florida, get while the getting's good. And what it found was a 77-pound white-tailed deer. But imagine that. That's a snake eating something that is 2/3 its size all in one bite. It's actually crazy. It shows, I suppose, how big the python problem is in Florida, that there are so few natural predators for these snakes that it can take however many days just lying there as it digests a 77-pound deer, and nothing comes along and kills the snake and eats the snake. That is something, that's not how the world should work. I'm a human. If I ate something 2/3 my size, we have no natural predators, but I know if I just sat there lying there for 5 days eating something 2/3 my size, I think something would just accidentally kill me in that time. It just makes me glad, one, that I guess I don't live in Florida, that I don't have to worry about a snake devouring Zafira the dog, or me for that matter. And I'm glad that for most humans, this is something that's not that anything we can do either. Well, except your mama. It's the Hudson Show. We know AI is powerful, but did you know it's so powerful that it can save lives, specifically elephant lives? In India, AI is being put to the task of making sure that trains do not collide with herds of elephants on the tracks, according to India's wildlife capital of Assam state. Wait, I don't even know what that means, what those words mean. But they say that it's saved potentially up to 800 potential collisions have been avoided because of AI that is used to detect if there's elephants on the train tracks, which really leads me to the question of AI is like pretty new, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many, let's say they've done this for like 5 years. That's still how many, like, what is that? Like, do the math for me here.
I'm not good at math, so
let's just say
do the calculator.
It was 4 years. That's like circa 200 collisions with elephants a year.
Yeah.
So before they came with this AI stuff, the trains were just running into elephants like basically every day. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know if I buy the whole 800, elephants family
saved. Is AI cooking the numbers to make itself seem a lot more impressive than it is?
It's like, we've saved 800 collisions or whatever. Yeah, no. I don't buy that. I mean, this is pretty cool technology. It sounds like it's necessary in this area where it's like, I think the Assam state area is just like where India has plenty of wildlife where this is a constant threat of like a potential collision.
It's so crazy to me to think about how you could be like in India, there are that many elephants that you have to avoid them when driving. Like you have to factor that in. I always think about that here. We're like, let's bring back the buffaloes. And I'm all for that. But can you imagine how the delays that would ensue if there was a herd of buffalo that could possibly delay your commute? It'd be horrible. And I don't know how we would live that way. Or what if we bring back mammoths and then we have mammoths? That's even worse to me to think about. And it only takes one to delay things. So then you get a whole herd. I don't know. Do you have any experience with elephants?
I do.
I already know the answer.
Yeah, you already know. I told you this story off the air a while ago, but I remember still very vividly, because I grew up in Africa, my parents and my whole family driving in Botswana, which is a country in southern Africa. And we're driving to our lodge. And they always tell you in Africa, never drive after dark.
That's inconvenient.
Yeah, right. There's not a lot of lights and there's lots of animals, especially in this area of Botswana that we were at. There's plenty of national parks around and there's no fences for these national parks. So the animals are just wandering around, going.
As it should be.
Right. They're going about their lives in their natural habitat, which is awesome. But don't drive after dark. So we were driving after dark, of course, which is a terrible idea. And we were trying to get to our lodge. And so my dad is like zipping down this road. And I just remember I'm sitting behind his seat and I'm, in the back seat and I'm looking up. At this point, I'm probably like 5 or 6 years old, maybe 6 or 7. And then I look up in the dead of night, I just see 2 white massive tusks pass us as we're going, 60 miles an hour down this road that's, pitch dark in Botswana. And that vision has never left me because if that elephant that we just zoomed past had been, a couple of inches further onto the road, my family would have been in a terrible accident. Yeah. So I've had experience with elephants on the road for sure.
If only you had AI back then.
Yeah, right.
You would have been much safer. What a great finish in I almost said the wrong team name. The Bears and Commanders game yesterday. Jaden Daniels for the Commanders heaves up a game-winning Hail Mary that looks like, I don't even think it actually reached the end zone on its own, but the Bears tipped it. And standing in the end zone, Noah Brown, receiver for the Commanders, to make the game-winning touchdown catch as the clock expires. Hey, that was a great finish, unless you're a Bears fan. Imagine being a Bears fan today, and you had a few months ago the number 1 pick in the draft. You could pick anybody you want. What do we need? We need a quarterback. We can pick any quarterback we want. And just fast forward a few months later, you realize you picked the wrong one. You could have had Jaden Daniels, and you chose Caleb Williams and his 33 passing yards in the first half against the Washington Commanders. You get those two guys on the same field, and you could tell Caleb Williams. And I feel like the Chicago Bears, their team, I feel like teams often reflect their quarterback. Does anybody else see the clip of the Bears defense? One of their players taunting the Washington fans as the play begins. That was the game-winning Hail Mary, and that feels like that's a reflection of the quarterback. You've won 4 games this year, the Bears. That's pretty good. You haven't earned yet. You haven't made the playoffs yet. You won 4 games. You haven't earned the right to start taunting fans on the road before the game is even over. Come on, what are you doing? You're selling wolf tickets. You're not ready to back up here. And speaking of backup, I also feel it feels good today to wake up as a Packers fan and know you've got a backup quarterback that's better than the Bears starting quarterback. And it turns out we might need him. It sounds like Jordan Love might be out for a little while. Nene, once again, refused to come in early the day after the Cowboys get defeated by the 49ers. So their season seems to... It's not over. The Cowboys can still make it, but it's going to be a long road. And speaking of the Packers having 2 quarterbacks better than the Bears, the 49ers have 3 running backs better than the Cowboys. You would think running back's not that important, but I don't know. The Cowboys can't run the ball at all. And let me get to this. My Aaron Rodgers, he lost again against the Patriots. 5 games in a row now. They're 2-6. And it's ridiculous to me that how things would be different if they just had a different kicker. You can easily make the argument that if the Jets did not have Greg Zuerlein as their kicker, who missed another extra point and field goal yesterday, that instead of being 2-6, they'd be at worst 4-4. But they continue to have this kicker around. It's crazy that the owner can come down, fire the coach. Yes, they fire the coach. Bring in Devontae Adams. Yes, they bring in Devontae Adams. But the kicker, for some reason, no, we can't mess with the kicker. Can't get rid of the kicker. Teams have gotten rid of kickers for much less. But Greg Zuerlein somehow still managed to continue to be above the cut line. I think maybe this week is he's finally been done in, although the coach yesterday talking about it didn't seem too anxious. He says, I don't regret having him around. You should regret it because you still haven't won a game since you took over as coach of the Jets. Aly, do you have any thoughts? Are you a Browns fan?
I am a Browns fan, and I was very happy yesterday.
Yeah. Jameis Winston leads the team to a win over the Ravens. I like to see the Ravens lose. I grew up in Maryland. Everybody loved the Ravens. I never did. Joe Hart. What's his name? Which Harbaugh is he?
He's one of the Harbaugh brothers. I can't remember which one he is.
Steve, what's his name? I don't know his name.
I can't remember.
Not Jim, the one that John Harbaugh.
Yeah, John. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Which might have been what I said at first anyways.
I think you said Jim, but
I like to see him lose.
Yeah, I was so excited with that win, and the only thing that kind of was a little bit of a thorn in my side with that win was
Wait, you're really going to find a negative? You won your second game of the year, you're going to find something to complain about?
It's not even about the Browns, but I added Jameis Winston as my third quarterback in my fantasy football league that, you have two quarterbacks that play at the same time in this league. And he was on my bench and, of course, scored 33 points. So that's my only problem.
But it's better to have your real life team win, right?
It's true.
That's the trade we take here on the Hudson Show. And this is something fun and new. A double-barreled first in a food fight. For the first time ever in a food fight, it's just me and Producer Aly. This is exciting.
Yeah.
And then secondly, this is the first time that I know, in my knowledge anyways, that we've ever done a bacon food fight on the Hudson Show. I don't remember, and I think I would remember because when you cook bacon here at the RadioU studios, it makes the entire office smell like bacon, and I don't remember that ever happening before.
Yeah, I have to say, after baking this bacon, there's nothing more in the world that I want to do right now than eat it.
Yeah. And as you've been toiling away, how long has it taken you? We don't have, in our new RadioU studios we moved into a few months ago, we don't have a stove. We don't have an oven. So our choices were microwave, which is not ideal. I've had microwave bacon before. It's fine, but not ideal. Or we have this little toaster oven. And so that's what you went with. But how long did it take to cook this bacon?
So I used a toaster oven, and I basically just followed the directions on the package for baking it, because I've baked bacon before in the oven, and it took a little bit longer to get crispy. It's still not as crispy as I would like it, but I'm happy with it, and it looks and smells amazing. But it took me about 35 minutes.
Okay, you know what's crazy? We haven't actually said what this bacon is. It's the new, you can get this at like any grocery store, I think, because that's where we found it. It's the new Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bacon. I think it's made by Hormel, right? Black Label.
Black Label, yep.
And it's got Cinnadust on the bacon. And I think cooking any bacon would make the entire RadioU studio smell like bacon. This smells even better. It smells immaculate. It smells so good. It's honestly worth it. Like, how much is a good candle? Like $7.99. This is about the same price, and I guess it doesn't smell as long, but it smells at least as good.
But you can't eat a candle.
Yeah, believe me, I've tried. So I can't really wait much longer. We really do need to try
this out.
Hopefully it doesn't get everything in the studio greasy.
Right, that's the only bad part about bacon.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, this is so good.
It just melted away in my mouth. And it's not like a strong Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavor, but you do get it. It's definitely there.
Absolutely. You get the slight taste of cinnamon. I was telling Chris, who works here in the office here at RadioU,
when I was them money bags.
Money bags. I was telling money bags when I was making this. I said, this is going to remind me of, just eating bacon with like maple syrup on it. It's just the sweet mixed with savory. Can't go wrong.
It is kind of like, if you've ever had millionaire's bacon, they call it, or sometimes they have different words, but it was big a couple of years ago. You have to learn in food fights. You can talk with your mouth full, which is what I'm doing. Like millionaire's bacon, they literally like just coat it with brown sugar and then dump maple syrup on it and serve that to you. And it's and then it's like expensive, which is why they call it millionaire's bacon. That's what this tastes like, but it's only like you can just get it at the store and it's not even crazy expensive. I mean, bacon, one of the more expensive meats, but it's not crazy. This wasn't way more than other bacon. And for the right application, this tastes better than regular bacon.
This is very, very good, I have to say. And I'm talking with my mouth open, with like full, which I'm not used to. I hate doing. Not very ladylike, but whatever.
That's a food fight. You just have to do it.
Right.
It's not a food fight if you don't talk with your mouth full. And this is particularly hard because we can't. I can't just take one bite of this bacon.
No, you got to keep eating.
I keep going, and I can't wait until we're done talking. I have to keep eating it now while we're talking. This is I didn't know what my expectations were, but this definitely beats them.
Absolutely. It beats my expectations, and I honestly think I might go to my local store and buy myself a pack to take home.
Yes. Well, the good news is we have a pound, and there's not that many of us here yet, so we can eat a lot of it on our own.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Let's do the Monday tradition, the box office breakdown, looking at what made money and what didn't in the theaters over the weekend. If you've seen anything good lately, let me know at 877-2-RADIO-U. Venom: The Last Dance, clearly the number one entry into the box office this week. It made $51 million in North America, which that on its own, not great when you consider that the previous two made over 80 million, and then over 90 million in their first opening weekends. And then you have the third one coming in at about 50. Not very well reviewed, but there is good news for Venom, and that is that overseas it made a ton of money. Where in North America, over Venom, but overseas, not as much. And it's making about $175 million total. So they still consider that successful as far as the movie goes. I guess maybe also good news, they're not making any more Venoms anyways. So, leave on a kind of high note. Smile 2, number 2, came in $9 million. And then The Wild Robot, number 3, $6 million. For me, I have been churning through Halloween movies. I watched both Hocus Pocuses over the weekend. Producer Aly, have you seen either of the Hocus Pocuses? I have seen both, yes. Do you understand how the witches know these songs that came out in like the 80s, right? Even though they were dead at that time? Spoiler alert. I have thought about that, weirdly enough, where I'm like, how would they know I put a spell on you? Yeah, they were definitely dead when that song existed, and then they come back, and within hours of being resurrected, they're singing a classic song from several decades ago. I don't understand it. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It must be like a self-evident truth or something like that, where, every American just knows it. That it's just embedded in you. It's in your culture. But there's people out there right now that are listening that have not seen Hocus Pocus, and they don't even know what I Put a Spell on You is. Yeah, they're like, what? There's witches that sing songs, huh? Yeah. But also, Hocus Pocus, I guess this is just like a PG, movies anyways are like this. But can you imagine if the witches weren't idiots? Like, they would be unstoppable. Yeah, they would wreak havoc. It's crazy that there can be a world where that could exist. In that world, are there not any like other intelligent witches? Because those witches, the only thing can stop them is salt. Other than that, they're like all powerful. But you run into that with like every superhero movie too. It's like sometimes you have to, I can't remember the word is for it, but they get too powerful, and you're watching, you're thinking, this doesn't make any sense. How could anybody ever stop these people? Right. There's just no way to do it. So I don't understand. But Hocus Pocus, always good to go back for Halloween. What was the last thing you watched? Anything? I did watch the new Stephen King adaptation film, which is a little bit scary, like creature horror. Yeah. Called Salem's Lot. It's about vampires, and I wasn't expecting it to be about vampires, but I typically don't watch creature horror, but I did really enjoy this film. You didn't even say anything scary, and it's too scary for me. You've been hearing Producer Aly here hanging out on the show, helping out. And today is a big day for Aly because it's her birthday. Happy birthday, Aly. Thank you. Thank you. I know what you're doing here at RadioU. We've got your birthday lunch coming up. You chose City Barbecue. Yeah, I'm sure. Hop in the comments at 877-2-RADIO-U with your thoughts on that. But what else have you got going on? Have you gotten any presents yet? Because did you have a whole birthday weekend? Yeah, I did like most of my birthday celebrations, if you will, over the weekend. Got together with my family for lunch yesterday after church and had a little fun celebration with them. And later on in the night, towards dinner time, I met with my parents, had some fun with them, and they gave me a present. So yeah, most of my celebration aspects of my birthday are pretty much over. I've got a usual cardio drumming class that I go to every Monday night, so I'm doing that tonight. That's crazy. But that's just normal, though. That's just normal schedule, yeah. Although the playlist for tonight is specifically Halloween themed, so I'm excited. Hey, that should be fun. So wait, how many presents did you get? I mean, you're old enough. You probably don't get much.
I mean, maybe like 4 or 5.
4. What was the best thing? Hey, listen, my birthday was 2 weeks ago. The coolest thing I got was a mini chainsaw. Can you top that?
I don't think I can top that, but I did get a lot of presents that you'd be like, yep, she's an adult, where it's like paper towels and things like that that you need for your lifestyle. Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Was it like a gift basket or
yeah, like
just
they
wrapped
throw
up paper towels?
Yeah, they throw in some stuff that's for your. I just moved into a new apartment. I had a roommate before that, so now I'm living by myself. So this family member decided to bless me with some items that I need for my apartment, and I was very appreciative of that.
Did you ever have a apartment warming party?
Yes, I did. I did for my first apartment that I got by myself. For this is my third apartment now, so I feel like it'd be a little weird to be like, all right, I'm doing housewarming for my third apartment.
Wait, okay, how much of the stuff that you had for your previous apartments and you had a roommate did you lose in the separation?
Right.
In the divorce.
I definitely have kept a lot of the same things that I've had since my first apartment, which was a solo apartment as well. But I did get rid of quite a few things just to kind of get some newer items. I'm like, all right, I've had this stuff for a while. I'm ready to kind of get my own stuff now.
Thomas says, City Barbecue is delicious. Good choice. Happy birthday and a belated welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Thomas. Yes, I agree. It is a great choice, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to City Barbecue, and so I'm going to do that thing that we do here on the Hudson Show, which is look at the menu for City Barbecue, even though I've been there numerous times because it's just exciting, and I'm going to look at it for the rest of the morning.
Get ready.
If I seem distracted, it's because I'm just looking at barbecue. Happy birthday, Aly. Cases of scurvy are on the rise. Scurvy is the disease caused by severe chronic deficiency of vitamin C. Anybody who's watched SpongeBob knows fruit prevents scurvy. That's you got to get a lot of fruit in your diet. And apparently, I guess our diets maybe are possibly getting worse and worse, at least in regards to eating fruit and vegetables. And so the rate of folks getting diagnosed with scurvy has gone sky high since about 2016. It's been steadily climbing. But, like I said, I'm not worried about it. I get plenty of vitamin C from all the fruit I eat. The fruit like onions, onion rings. Does that count? And even if I do get scurvy, it's, that's pirates used to get scurvy. And pirates are pretty cool. And we still remember them fondly. So I think I'm just fine with it. But I was so excited on Saturday when it looked like Ohio State was going to lose to Nebraska. That didn't work out. But I do want to know, it was a good Saturday of college football. I want to know, Aly, are you an Ohio State fan?
I am.
You cheer for all things Ohio.
Pretty much, yeah.
So Ohio State, your team, what is your level of concern after they nearly blow a game against Nebraska? And now you've got Penn State on deck.
I'm concerned. I won't lie. Definitely after, we lose to Oregon in a pretty not great fashion. Horrific, in fact, with the whole clock management being a disaster in that game. Very easily winnable game with a great kicker that we do have. So that was disappointing, obviously. And then with the very terrible performance we saw on Saturday against Nebraska after Nebraska just got absolutely slapped against Indiana the week before. It was really shocking to see that. I was with Ryan Day, I would have been throwing my headset on the sideline.
Yeah.
I was right there with him.
I kind of when I saw him freaking out, did he get a penalty for throwing his headset?
He did not. What was happening was they were reviewing a call on the field, and so a lot of people were on the field at that moment. Yeah. So they did give them a sideline warning, but he himself did not get like a personal foul for unsportsmanlike conduct or something. I was watching it. I was out, but I was watching it but I wasn't able to hear what exactly was going on. And neither was he because he had thrown his headset. But I at that moment I saw that that frame of him throwing his headset down. And I was like, if they blow this game, this is the moment. This is the image of a man getting fired. It was headed in that direction. Which is crazy too, because he loses like one game a year and still it's not good enough.
And so maybe this year, hey, if they only wind up losing one, I guess he's done his job. But you can take solace in, as an Ohio State fan, the Penn State fans, where you're about to collide this week. Penn State was feeling like probably the exact same way. They had a narrow escape against Wisconsin, and their starting quarterback, is banked up. So I don't know what the status of him is going into this game. So Penn State's thinking the exact same thing. Both teams are like, oh, we can't play like this and beat those guys.
Right.
But what Ohio State should be worried about, what is your level of concern with Indiana? Because they just beat that same Nebraska team that you fought tooth and nail to beat, and they had them beaten in the first quarter.
Oh, absolutely. They killed Nebraska, and they did not look that bad against Washington either. They had a pretty good game.
With a backup quarterback.
Yeah, they had a pretty good game against Washington. So Indiana's for real, for sure. And I know they keep talking about this like horrifying scenario where Ohio State gets left out of the Big Ten championship game because somehow Penn State, Indiana, and Oregon all end up undefeated, where that is a possibility. It could happen because they don't play each other. But I will say Indiana and Penn State both still have to play Ohio State. So, yeah. Is there concern? For sure. I have not liked moments of what I have seen. But there's also some upside because that final drive, which won Ohio State the game, where they just went down to score that touchdown very, very quickly. Yeah. That's the Ohio State. I'm like, okay, please play like that. Yeah, right. Moving forward.
I'll tell you what, Ohio State fans aren't going to be happy to hear this. I'm just excited for Indiana. I think it's cool that they're doing well, and nobody's going to be cheering harder for them than me. Must be hard to be a statue sculptor. We see a lot of statues today, but we don't really have they're statues of people that we never saw with our own eyes. So maybe that statue of Ulysses S. Grant looks like him. What do we know? But
we do have pictures of him. So.
Yeah, but still, they're old. Maybe it's like the camera was off. But now, when they put out new statues of people that are still alive, and you have the statues standing side by side with the person, it shows how bad those statues actually are. Over the weekend, the Miami Heat unveiled a statue of Dwyane Wade, who led them to multiple championships. He's probably going to go into the NBA Hall of Fame. But his statue, it's a big miss. It's a swing and a miss. Aly, I have a few thoughts of how to describe it, but how would you describe the Dwyane Wade statue?
I will first off say I have never seen a good NBA statue. They're all bad. None of them really look like.
Well, that's because they're all made by these same guys.
They're all made by the same sculptors, apparently.
The people that made this statue also made one of Michael Jordan and Kobe, which was widely criticized, and many others. They're just bad at it. Yeah. And for some reason, they keep getting hired.
They just keep getting hired. Why? But to me, this just looks like if you typed into an AI generator to create Han Solo in Carbonite.
Yeah, it does.
That's what the AI generator would come up with.
I definitely thought Carbonite. Here's how bad it is. Before I saw that this unveiling took place, I saw this picture or this statue photoshopped into a picture where it was meant to be Dwyane Wade, a picture that was of Dwyane Wade. They photoshopped this into Dwyane Wade, and I'm like, what is that thing that they photoshopped over Dwyane Wade? This is how bad it is. I think it looks like either Laurence Fishburne or does it look like an old baby? It looks like an old baby. It does not look like Dwyane Wade. No. I could go through a list of 100 things. It's wearing a Miami Heat jersey with Dwyane Wade's number, and I still wouldn't have gone, oh, it's Dwyane Wade.
Yeah, no, those are very accurate.
The sculptors were questioned on this. They said, at the end of the day, we want to do the best job possible with human hands. I refuse to believe that.
I refuse to believe this is the best human hands can do. Come on.
At what point in the statue making process, though, do you the Heat commissioned this, right?
Yeah.
At what point do they say, no, back to the drawing? How many horrible statues were smelted down because they were worse than this one, and the Heat was like, no, this isn't going to do. And this was the best these guys got to.
How many people did this have to go through to get approved? That's what I want to know.
So many people. I think they had to have just been like, fine, at this point.
We'll go with
We've
it.
turned down 7. This will have to do. 1 week away from Election Day. And I wish I could take credit for this, but it's a great line. If in this day and age, if you can't gamble on it, it isn't really happening. And that apparently holds true for the election, too. Now, I know there's always places you can gamble on the election, depending on where you can go. But now you can really do it very above board on Robinhood, where they are letting you, they call it trading, but it's gambling. Come on. Where you can go ahead and put money on what you think the outcome of the presidential election will be coming up here in a week through their what they call Robinhood derivatives. I opened up my app. I didn't see it in there yet. I had some wagers I was ready to make. No, but I'm just kidding. But some people are saying, this just shows a Robinhood. Sometimes some people say stocks. It's all gambling if you think about it in some ways. And I guess that could be true. But I actually think this is good news. I'll tell you why I think it's good that Robinhood is doing this, because we've got a lot of people that are stressed out about the election. It's high. Tensions are high. And that outcome on election night is going to be tough unless you just put some money on the candidate that you don't want to win. And then either your candidate wins or you win some money. Either way, I guess that works for everybody except for those who want neither candidate to win. Can't help you. You're just in for a long 4 years and probably a long life. We're talking worst apartment stories. What's the worst place you've actually lived in? You can let me know here. I'll tell you why this comes up is because in San Jose, a Craigslist ad has gone viral. Somebody's offering a living space in San Jose for $250 downtown. That's a great deal until possibly you realize that it's $250 a month and light chores is a quote from the ad. And it's just a small space under the stairs in a 1-bedroom apartment. But that is what the situation is like in San Jose, where you're like, well, that's actually not a bad deal. People are saying maybe it's worthwhile. What is the worst apartment situation that you've ever experienced, Aly?
I would say my first apartment is probably the one that I think about the most, where I'm like, okay, I don't want to live there again. The walls were like paper thin, so you could hear if your neighbor was like coughing or sneezing, you could hear them. It's obviously not a cramped situation like what they're dealing with in San Jose, California, where living expenses are extremely high, right, and they don't have a lot of space for new apartments and things like that. But this was a very, very small apartment for this area, but yet extremely expensive. Like the price was super high for what you're getting. So yeah, I would not want to live in that situation again.
We heard from Phil, who says, my landlord decided to renovate the apartment above mine, but didn't tell anyone. And for 3 weeks, they drilled at random hours, even on Sundays at 6 a.m. And I had noise canceling headphones, but I still couldn't get any sleep. That sounds illegal. Is that illegal?
That does not sound like it should be happening.
When you're like 22 though, and you're like, what are you going to do?
Right.
What are you actually going?
What are you going to do about it?
I don't know how old Phil was, but what are you even going to do about it? Oh, this is interesting. Here is Penny, who says, my downstairs neighbor rescued a bunch of feral cats and kept them in her 1-bedroom apartment. The smell and constant meowing were unbearable. And when she finally moved out, I found out I had fleas in my apartment. This happened to me. Not the cat thing, but my dog, when shortly after we first got her, like we had her, she was fine or whatever. And then in our apartment, we realized that there were fleas. And come to find out that some guy told me, like he was actually working on my car. He's like, yeah, I used to live in the building. There was a lady there that had fleas with all her cats. So she had moved out before we moved in and left fleas behind.
Oh, no.
So that wasn't great. I also, that's probably the worst living situation. And it wasn't that, other than that, the apartment was fine.
Yeah.
We also had mice at that apartment, and they just kept giving me sticky traps instead of coming to actually do something about it. That wasn't the best.
Oh yeah.
And then I had this roommate. I had this I was subletting, which is, that's fraught with danger. Mm-hmm. I was in this one room, and then the guy was also subletting the living room out. Before I got there, he had rented out the living room to one of his friends who was sleeping in there on an air mattress. And so, like, there was really no privacy to be had because there's just always a guy literally right outside your door, and that's his bedroom, even though it's a living room. And so you'd come out to cook or whatever, and there was, I'm not going to say his name, but there he was. Who knows in what state of undress? Who knows who else was with him? And it wasn't the best. But we made it work. We made it work. It's amazing the things you'll do for a good deal or when you have, not a lot of money. Not a lot in your budget for living situations. Yeah. Ricco the Rooster is the center of a lawsuit, a legal dispute in France that we're going to need you to weigh in on at 8772 Radio U. Ricco is a rooster from Bourgoin-Jallieu, France. Ricco's owners are being sued by a neighbor of theirs who moved to the area in 2021, claiming that Ricco's crowing disrupts her sleep and outdoor activities such as gardening. The rooster's owners claim they've installed an automated door system to minimize noise with Ricco confined until about 9 a.m. every morning. So it's not like he can crow that you'll be able to hear overnight. There are neighbors in the area that aren't the one that is suing Ricco's owners that actually claim they like hearing Ricco crow all the time. However, the plaintiff in the case, who prefers to remain anonymous, says that yet again, Ricco's constant crowing disrupts her sleep and other activities outdoors that she likes to enjoy. So you be the judge. Should Ricco and his owners, I don't even know, meet an unprecedented fate, or is it time for this lady, this anonymous plaintiff, to just shut up and deal with it like she wants the crow to do? 8772 Radio U. We heard from Regina, who says, we have a rooster that's next door, but we only hear it if we're outside, and it's typically midday. That lady should just get some white noise going in her room. So I guess that's in favor of Ricco. William says, it's a chicken. The person complaining needs to grow up. Animals will do what they do. Some can't be trained to not do something instinctive. So many siding with the rooster. I should also point out that there's many online that are also on the rooster's side. Like there's whole Facebook groups set up to support Ricco. Producer Aly, what are your thoughts on this you be the judge situation?
I understand the annoying aspects of, living near roosters, live animals. I mean, I remember growing up, we always had, families with chickens near us. And so, was roosters crowing at the crack of dawn annoying? Absolutely. But you eventually just got used to it. But the fact that this rooster doesn't even come outside until 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, these neighbors are the owners of Ricco are clearly making sure that Ricco can be not a nuisance, the least amount of nuisance to people. So it just seems like it's a little bit of a Karen move to be like, get rid of your rooster.
Yeah. I feel like I wish I knew more detail. I don't know about this town in France. It's not a big enough, which makes me think it's kind of the countryside. It's quiet. The neighbors are spread out, or at least you would be in a situation where it wouldn't be shocking to hear a rooster crowing after 9 a.m. But let's say they live in a town. Let's say they live in a city. I don't know. I do. And then there's a rooster that's right on their backyard, and Ricco's right on their backyard, and he crows all the day constantly. Maybe then I would understand if somebody like this individual here complained more than once to the city about getting the rooster to shut up. Maybe that's something I've done, perhaps. But also, I live in a city, and I don't care what time of day it is. There shouldn't be a rooster crowing when I have where our backyards are right next to each other. It's not the countryside. You see what I'm saying? By the way, so the truth is this did happen to me, and the rooster is gone. The city took care of it.
Really?
You can't have a rooster in a city.
I mean, that makes sense.
It's not a farm.
That makes sense, but they took it away. What happened?
They didn't come and confiscate the rooster.
Right.
After the first complaint, I think they ignored, but then the second time, because nothing came of it, the second time I complained, they went ahead and they notified the offending neighbors, you can't have a rooster in town. This is a town.
Right.
This isn't a farmland. If you want to have a rooster, you got to move or you got to get rid of the rooster. And so I think they got rid of the rooster because I haven't heard it in a long time.
So it worked in that situation.
Yeah.
But this lady, I feel like, is going further than complaining. She's suing them.
I'm never, you know what I'm never going to do? Sue. I don't even want the neighbors that had the rooster to know who I am.
Right.
I don't want them to know that I complained. I just like to think I complained on behalf of many of us that live in a city and shouldn't have to deal with a rooster crowing, no matter what time of day it is. And I looked it up. It's not just the crowing. That obviously it's annoying. Mm-hmm. Some people find it annoying anyways, but it's also, roosters have diseases and stuff. They're pretty nasty animals. And so you can have that in close quarters to other neighbors.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if whatever town this is in France, whatever Baljean or whatever they call it, if that's like a city, then I'd say get rid of Ricco. But if it's the countryside, Ricco can stay.
Justice for Ricco. That's what I say.
The election just a week away. A new survey has come out that has found that 60% of Americans claim that the election is affecting their mental health, either slightly, moderately, or significantly. So basically, if you look at it the other way, 40% of Americans say that it's not affecting their mental health, which I see as a positive. However, you can't dispute that 46% say that they have feelings of anxiety regarding the election. 37% are feeling stressed out, and 31% are experiencing actual fear when you're talking about the 2024 presidential election. Again, tensions are high, and I know a lot of people are nervous. Odds are, if you got a car full of people right now, somebody in there is like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I want the election to get here or if I want it to never come. I can't make up my mind. Well, I'll tell you that as somebody who follows politics a lot, I'm looking forward to voting. That feels like a weird thing to say, but I like voting. I like elections. I'm nervous about the election too, but I'll tell you what keeps me calm going forward. And that is that when you have a relationship with God, you know that no matter what the outcome of the election is, that God's going to be there for you. It's so actually, I say that you know that, but I do feel like there's many people out there that say, yeah, I have a relationship with God. And they're like, oh, but if the election goes this way, we're in trouble. It might not be the way that you want things to go, but it doesn't mean that God's going to disappear. It doesn't mean that Jesus is going to abandon you or abandon the country. God still loves you. He still cares about you and what's going on in your life and what's going on in here in America and in the world. And so when you know that, you can know that even if the election doesn't go the way you think it should go, that there's still a lot of peace that can be had there. Jesus wants to give you that peace. If you haven't experienced that, start talking to him. Find out what the comfort that comes from knowing that God's got you covered no matter how this or any future election goes. Start talking to Jesus. Go from there. If you want to know more, RadioU.com/free gift. Bigfoot is having a moment. He's got a chance to become a state animal, first of all, of Idaho. Now, this might seem like a long shot, but in the state of Idaho, there's someone running for state representative. His name is Chandler Hadraba. One of his items in his platform is making Bigfoot the state animal. He says, first of all, Idaho doesn't currently have a state animal at all. And the quote is, I really want to make Idaho number one for Bigfoot tourism. I think this is a creative way to have rural communities and remote areas benefit more from tourism in such a great state. On top of that, a USPS driver in Illinois named Gary Rutherford just recently claims he found Bigfoot. He saw Bigfoot. He says, I'm not calling it Bigfoot. The investigators have concluded what it was, and I accept that. All I know is it scared the absolute heck out of me. I can't get it out of my mind. Producer Aly, do you believe in Bigfoot?
Probably not, but I do find the stories, like the encounters with Bigfoot, to be quite interesting. Mm-hmm. And I'm always a fan of unsolved mysteries and things like that. So yeah. I do think they're seeing something. I don't know what that might be, though.
I want Bigfoot to be real.
Right.
So I'm definitely not going to say he isn't. I feel like at this point, it's unknowable. You can't prove that he doesn't exist. And so that's good enough for me, which is why I believe he should be, first of all, the state animal of Idaho. If I lived there, well, I'm not going to say I would vote for this guy because I'm not a single issue voter, and the single issue is whether Bigfoot should be a state animal or not. But I think it's a good idea. I think it's fun. What do state animals mean anyways? Just name any other state's animal. Who even knows? Who even cares?
Right. I think he's got a great point. It would probably drive more tourists to come to Idaho. So it's a good idea.
Are they the kind of tourists that you really want is another debate, but it seems fun. So I want to see Bigfoot. I hope I get to see him one day. And I hope like, how do you see Bigfoot? Besides taking drugs, is there another way that I can increase my odds?
I think the people that honestly want to see Bigfoot probably never will.
Are the ones that are most unlikely to see him, aren't we? Yeah. What is the worst Halloween costume you ever found yourself in? 8772 RadioU. I know from years of dressing up, there's got to be a few for each of us. Maybe regrettable. Maybe either the execution wasn't there, the effort wasn't there, or it seemed like a good idea at the time, and now maybe not so much. So what is the worst Halloween costume you've ever found yourself in? 8772 RadioU. I think I have one that comes to mind. We've got a lot of good responses coming in here on the Hudson hotline.
8772 RadioU.
We did see this. It's going to be hard to top this one, but we heard from Frank, who says, I put some paint on to have a unibrow in middle school. I didn't know they were real. How can we we're leading off with that. How can we top that? Frank also said, my other worst costume was just wearing a red shirt. I was red shirt guy, and everyone actually hyped it up as I was red shirt guy. So it worked. 8772 RadioU. If you've got any bad Halloween costumes, that seems to be a recurring theme actually from some of these ones I'm seeing. We heard from Melissa, who says, I wore fake glasses and called myself Glasses Woman.
What?
I like this one from Jeff, who says 20 minutes before you're about to go out, everybody was like, hey, by the way, we're dressing up. So I printed out a picture of Hank Hill's face, grabbed a piece of string, made it into a mask, and then put a white T-shirt and jeans on and put some barbecue lighter through my belt loop, and I was Hank Hill. I actually love that. I'm like, Jeff, can I steal that? Because I think I changed my mind. I think I want to be Hank Hill for Halloween. 8772 RadioU. Your worst Halloween costume you ever went as. Producer Aly, what's yours?
So I do tell people that the one that I'm most embarrassed by was one that my mom put me in when I was a baby, which was, she made me the Michelin baby. like the Michelin man.
Yeah.
I'm not super proud of that one.
But you had no control?
No control in that situation.
It's not your fault?
Now, for the one that actually I did control and I look back on and I'm like, what was I doing? I dressed up as Al from Home Improvement. Not a good look.
Is that you just had a fence?
No, not the neighbor guy.
Oh.
Al,
That's Wilson, isn't it?
Yeah, Wilson's the neighbor, but Al's
Who's
the
Al?
guy that's like the helper with guy on the show, and he wears the flannel shirts all the time.
Oh, yeah, the goatee?
Yeah. He was like the OxyClean guy.
Yeah, right. Wow, that's impressive. My worst one or my most head-scratching one, because it wasn't a bad costume. When I was a child, I had a brother 2 years younger than me. I wanted to go as Batman. My brother wanted to go as Robin Hood. So we were Batman and Robin Hood. My mom did the costumes herself. She did a pretty good job, I think. I remember. But it was very confusing to many people that, hey, we're Batman and Robin Hood. Do you mean Batman and Robin? No, I want to be Robin Hood. And so that's what happened. That was probably again, just me individually, the Batman costume probably looked good for 7 years old or whatever I was. But the two of us together was definitely, people were confused, to say the least.
Yeah. I think that's creative.
I also once, similar to the Glasses Woman story, I put on, this is my lowest effort. I put on like a suit jacket. I put on thick rimmed glasses that I had. They were 3D glasses from a movie theater that I popped the lenses out of. And then put on some like cotton whatever on my hair. So I had white hair and I was Harry Carey.
Oh.
It was really just an excuse for me to do a Harry impression. Harry Carey impression. It didn't go over well then. And I don't think it would go over well even worse now. I don't need an excuse to do a Harry Carey impression. Thanks for listening to The Hudson Show. Please don't forget to rate and review the podcast.